Hello, and welcome back to Elden Ring. This is part 2 of our dexterity run through the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. Last time, we started out, we got the map for the Gravesite Plain, we got a black steel great hammer, guaranteed drop. We got the Sacred Tower painting, we got the Greater Potentate's Cookbook 1, Hefty Cracked Pot, Blade of Mercy, Backhand Blade, Cross Map, Note for Sealed Spirit Springs, 6 Skidoo Tree Fragments, the String Seller's Bell Bearing. We got a random chance drop for Bloodfiend's Arm and Fork. We got the Outer God Heirloom. We got the Incursion Painting, the Blessed Blue Dew Talisman, the Oath Seeker Night Set, Pata, one of these blue larval tears, Greater Potentate's Cookbook 2, 3 Revered Spirit Ashes, the Ailment Talisman, Greater Potentate's Cookbook 10, the Gravebird Armor, and the Serpent Crest Shield. And starting off this time, Great Katana. And these enemies, the Ghost Slain Dragons, they're very well designed, they're pretty fun to fight. However, I'm not going to fight them. We can favorite that. But I'm not going to fight them because they just don't really give you anything. Like I said, they're fun to fight, but all they really give are runes, and I just don't feel like I need runes. I mean, they're good because I could use more endurance, I could use more mind, I could probably use more strength or another damage stat. You know, any of those would be good, but I just don't feel like I need anything. Especially since I already have what I need for a level. And yeah, just that damage. And what I don't have in damage, I can make up for with rolling. In order to just dodge attacks. So I'm not too worried. Although levels could be good. You weren't supposed to do that. So you weren't supposed to do that. You weren't supposed to do that. Oh yeah, the whole thing. Oh, they didn't do it this time. That's nice of them. Normally when there's multiple perfumers, they have that little bubble above them, and you'll hit them and you'll do like less than 1% of their health bar. But it breaks the bubble, but then they instantly get a bubble back, and so you can just do this, and they'll lose like 1, maybe 2% of their health bar, and that's it. But they didn't do it that time. So that was nice of them. I'm kind of... not very, just kind of tempted to use a perfume bottle on this run. Although objectively, that is probably not a good idea. Because I still don't have too much experience with the DLC. But it would be fun to use a unique weapon. Like, new weapon class? Mm-hmm. Although, if I remember correctly, I believe there's a spear up here. And I could use that. I could absolutely use a spear up here. Question is, do we go through everything? Like, going through... killing every enemy again? Because we could do that. We could definitely do that, because we're using curved swords right now, and curved swords are powerful. Or we could be normal. And being normal does sound kind of nice. And also, I just now realized why I missed the spear on the first run. Don't do it. Good job, sir. Yeah, the spear is here. But the first run, I went around and just kept going around instead of following the main path like a normal person. Again, sometimes being normal helps. But my brain goes, oh no, just follow the enemies. And always go towards the not progress path first. Which usually helps. But not always. Also, whoosh. And Skidoo Tree Fragment. I don't know if there's any point to checking these, or if it's useless. Either way, Thollier.
Oh, hello there. Are you the Tarnished? Lady Leda spoke of you. Another Tarnished. Guided here by Mikola the Kind. My name is Thollier. I too am Tarnished, and here on kindly Mikola's account. So, well, here's to new beginnings, I suppose. I'm sorry. But, well, I'm not much good at anything is all. I'm as weak as a kitten and thick as two planks. I've always been this way, since the very day I was born. I'm afraid the only thing I'm proficient in is poison. Sorry.
Okay. So there's this, we don't have the arcane for it. So... I'm gonna buy something just to see if he has dialogue.
Just give me the word if you need any more poison.
Now, went all this time without popping any of these. Look at that. Haven't fought a single boss. Haven't fought a single boss, but we already have 4 Skidoo Tree blessings and 3 Revered Spirit Ash blessings. We also haven't gone into any legacy dungeons. Outside of Bellerot Jail, but that was just to get the Site of Grace, and then we immediately left. So, I don't know how much of an impact 4 and 3 will have, but that requires 2, that requires 2. We have 1 fragment. Okay. Now, last time I mentioned that I had thought of something, but I'd forgotten about it because we got distracted. Thollier reminded me of it. He made me remember. So... Oh, hi, you. I don't feel like fighting those things. But the thing I was going to bring up was Freya mentioned that she could hold her own in battle. And when I summoned her, she kinda did, but not nearly as well as other people.
The pain. The pain. My arms, my legs, each lies a bloody ruin. The pain. The exquisite pain.
Me after a 5-minute workout.
Bale! Vile Bale! Oh, terror incarnate! There is life in me yet! I will soon feast upon your heart! Mark my words! You too shall know fear!
Love the energy. Imagine energy like that in, like, Dark Souls 1. People would be quaking in their boots. But now people are ready for it. Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, they prepared us. They prepared us for that kind of energy. So yeah. Freya mentioned that she could hold her own in battle. And when I summoned her, she kinda didn't. Like, she wasn't as bad as Thollier, but she died like halfway through the fight. But I don't really think that was her fault. I think that was just a bad matchup. Because it was against the Dancing Lion. And the Dancing Lion feels like it's better to use magic builds against. And that it's like the worst thing you can do is run a low mobility strength build. But Freya has a low mobility strength build. And so that's just not her strong suit. And I'd really like to see how she fares against other bosses. Can't think of any at the moment, but I wonder if this spot has any point besides this stone and like screenshot potential. Because I don't see much of a point to being up here. But anyways, take like the 4 wandering mausoleums where it's a boss against an NPC styled enemy. I feel like Freya would do great for helping you with those. But summoning her for those isn't an option. And so it feels like she got put in an area where she just doesn't excel. Hold on, Mr. Bird. Oh, I don't have it. I usually have a telescope, so that way I can zoom in on things and have a focus on them. Oh. Thought they were real. This poor bird. Forever trapped. Unable to move. Held hostage in stone. Oh. Are any of you gonna come alive? Doesn't look like it. Good. In the first part, I talked about things that make whips good. Birds. Birds are another thing where whips are good because they have good vertical swings. And one of the main annoyances with birds is that it's hard to get the birds because they're in the sky. But you can just do that with a whip. And it pretty easily brings them down, which is nice. Last time I mentioned that this is very good for catching NPC styled enemies because they have so many animation readers. And well, this, because they don't attack at the same time as like these do, because that it doesn't feel nearly as smooth or natural. But that's precisely what makes them good, because it catches animation readers. And they didn't really act like a normal NPC style enemy, like the ones in the base game. But you can see that I swung and the first attack missed, but the second one caught him. And with curved swords, because they swing at the same time, if the first one misses, they both miss. But That's not how it works with whips. They've got something to stop that nonsense. We can light this. We can favorite that, and then I'm going to leave because I don't want to do that area just yet. It was, I believe, Ansbach is the person who says, hey, if you find anything, can you bring it to me? I think Ansbach is the one who says that. Is the one that wants to learn about the crosses. So we've looked at a few, so maybe he'll be happy about that.
Righteous Tarnished. What brings you here? Oh, you must mean Samor. Samor is a kind and stalwart ally. He provisions our little outfit. Samor traffics with the Forager brood, his brethren, who collect supplies from all corners of the land. No doubt they find inspiration in his many virtues. These are not your foes, Tarnished. Should you spot any Forager brood, be sure to mind your manners. Righteous Tarnished. Righteous...
Okay, I wonder how many Forager brood there are.
Welcome. Oh, give this to Thollier. He asked me to find it. I finally found it.
Cool.
Many things.
You don't have anything else, do you? I don't think so.
For you, things. Goodbye.
Okay, well... we can bring that, Thollier. Why not? I do wonder how many Skadutri blessings you can find without beating a single boss. Because we got 6, and if I remember correctly, you can get 1 in Castle Ensis, and I believe you can get 1 in Ballarat. And then if I remember correctly, you can take a path down and a Spirit Spring jump to get into the Fort of Reprimand, like way over here, and that gets you access to Skidoo Altus without having to kill Relana. And so, I do wonder, but...
So, what can I help you with? Oh? What's this? I have to say, Sir Moore has an awfully sharp eye, doesn't he? It's wonderful. This ebony, as lustrous as the night sky unending. I don't think I could ever thank him enough, but I'll have to think of something. Ah, forgive me. You two deserve your share of the reward. I'll mix up something special. If you find yourself weary of the weight of this life, then just give me the word. Sleep is a balm. An eternal sleep is an elixir. Is that so? Then take this. This concoction can coax even the oldest of dragons to sleep. For you, it will grant the sweetest slumber for all eternity.
Tholier's concoction.
So,
And so you can now buy an infinite amount of these. And it causes immediate death. One of the best consumable items. And I'm usually not a fan of consumable items because my brain does this weird thing where if I don't need it, like if I can beat the boss or beat the area or whatever I'm trying to do without the consumable item, then my brain goes, oh, well, don't use the item because you don't need it. But if I'm struggling to beat an area or a boss without it, then my brain goes, okay, yeah, but if you use it and then you lose, well, then you've lost that item and then you can't use it anymore. And then that'll just make things even more difficult for yourself. So don't use it. And it's very strange because from a certain perspective, it's kind of got a point, but it's also just objectively wrong. But I can't stop myself. And so I just end up almost never using consumable items because of that. Which makes things a lot harder. Not a lot harder, but it makes things harder than they need to be. Because my brain just doesn't feel like working. Please don't shoot me, sir. I'm just trying to get through the world and kill your boss. And a god. We're just gonna let them fight things out. Not doing any damage to each other. Oh, now they are. I just had to verbally point that out for them to go, okay, fine, we'll kill each other and give you the free runes. I guess we'll do that now. I'm just marking all these so that way I don't forget about them, or don't forget that I haven't done them yet. Because I want to do them, just not right this second. As you can see. Whoops, do pretty good. I mean, part of that is because these enemies are a little too weak in my opinion. I feel like these enemies should be more difficult because of their size. Like, that should not be a thing that can happen. That just feels like bullying. They should put up more of a fight than that. And they should put up more of a fight than that. Hello. I don't feel like going through and fighting every single enemy. I mostly did that in the first run. Like, taking things slow, being meticulous, fighting just about every single enemy. But I don't want to do that every run. I don't want every run to be like 30 parts. Because even if I were to upload every single day, that's still a month. And I don't really feel like doing that. So Don't want to rush things, but don't want to go through killing every single enemy. Cookbook 7. Crafty poison pot. Okay. It's pretty sure it's this way. The one that leads you up into the Fort of Reprimand. You also get the Dread Talisman here. Pretty sure. Yeah, Talisman of the Dread. Good, good, good. I have heard... I don't know if it's true, but I have heard that that increases the damage of Blasphemous Blade. Or the skill of Blasphemous Blade. Which, if it does, wow, that is overpowered. Because it's already one of those powerful skills. Which, even if I had known that, it wouldn't have helped me. I love these enemies so much. Yeah, even if I had known that in the first run where I used the Blasphemous Blade for like the first half of the run, it still wouldn't have helped me because I don't use the skill. But still, it would have been cool. Yeah, this gets you into the Fort of Reprimand. And you can... You can drop down here and move over to that side of Grace, and then drop down. And you can kind of see it, like, just above my head there. There's an opening there, and it leads you out of this section, like, out of the Fort of Reprimand, and into Skidoo Altus. And once you're outside of the Fort of Reprimand, you can just freely explore Skidoo Altus. Although... you should be careful because at some point in Altus, Mikla's Great Rune breaks, and his Great Rune breaking, or him casting off the Great Rune, messes with NPC storylines and whatnots. And like I said, I'm not a fan of looking things up, and I tend to not look anything up until I've beaten the game, the DLC, whatever I'm going through, at least 2 to 5 times. So I don't know what specifically gets changed, what gets progressed, and what you get locked out of upon doing that. But better to be on the safe side until you know everything. And I don't know specifically what triggers the Great Rune to break. There's another Revered Spirit Ash. I remember that in both my characters, it happened once I went I think, to the east of Bonnie Village. But considering how easy it is to miss Bonnie Village, I'm gonna assume that's not the only thing that causes it. It might be Shadow Keep. Because that leads you towards one of the parts in Shadow Keep. The, like, church district section. And also already Tree Spirit. You gonna... Yep. There they are. It's been a bit. How you been? Oh, I'm not doing much damage. We are not doing much damage right now. That's totally fine. Who needs damage? Who needs damage when you can roll? Yeah, see, we can just roll through all their attacks. We'll be fine. No need to worry. Whatsoever. See? I told you, there's no reason to worry whatsoever. But, as I was saying before, I do think that it's something besides Bonnie Village. And it might be Shadowkeep. Because Shadowkeep sends you to Mesmer. Although it could just be Bonnie Village because Bonnie Village sends you to the Skidootree Avatar, which gets you Mikla's Broken Great Rune as an item. And FromSoft really doesn't have an issue with people missing important things. Like, the Hailing Tree is completely optional. Which is kind of baffling to think about. Hello. We're just gonna grab this, and we're gonna leave. I'm not gonna bother you guys whatsoever. You can go back to doing whatever you were doing in peace. Okay. Yeah, there's the cave. And right over here is this thing. So we can shoot that down. Alright, so key items. So we got String Seller's Bell Bearing. And here we got Mushroom Seller's Bell Bearing. But that says 1. And it's specifying 1 implies that there's more than 1. And I don't know how to feel about that. But for now... Do we go into more damage or endurance? I'm gonna go with endurance for now. So that way we don't spend too much time on this. Because we do have larval tears. Just sit back and you don't have to worry about the dogs too much. Gonna go into the whips. Because that's part of why I have them. Just to show that no, these things are actually viable. They are, in fact, not the worst weapon class. They're far from the best, but they're not the worst, and they're certainly not unusable. I always love doing that. Don't worry, because you can still, like, even if it is a death drop, you can still drop down afterwards and you'll be fine. So no worrying on that part. Lantern? Hi. Okay, that's another reason why I'm going through the DLC multiple times, is to see how the DLC works with different weapon classes. Because something I mentioned in the first run, I believe I mentioned it in Reclusus's River, was that part of the discussion about difficulty that a lot of people just kind of overlook is that a big part of difficulty is determined by a mixture of equipment and playstyle. Because someone walking in with a great sword is going to have a very different experience from someone walking in with a glintstone staff or a seal, who's going to have a very different experience from someone walking in with a fist or a claw, who's going to have a very different experience from someone coming in with a halberd, who's going to have a very different experience from someone coming in with a great hammer, who's going to have a very different experience from someone coming in with a katana. So playstyle is a big factor. Like, playstyle and equipment, both in terms of armor and weapons. And as I said, that's something that a lot of people overlook in the difficulty discussions. Because there are some bosses where a big, heavy strength weapon is going to dominate one boss, but is going to have a very tough time against the second boss. Whereas a small, dexterous weapon, like a curved sword, could have a very, very difficult time against the first boss, but then easily steamroll the second boss. And a lot of people will just say if they think a boss is easy or difficult, but they don't really explain what they were using or their playstyle or any of that fun stuff that could inform why they think something is easy or difficult. And so that's one of the reasons I'm going through with multiple weapon classes, like doing the DLC multiple times with a unique or with different weapon classes each time. Because if I was just focusing on what I think is... Ow. Yeah, so that's why the last time I went through here, I was very cautious. Really picking the enemies off one by one instead of going into the blood lake. That's why. And last time I had a much easier time. Like I said, playstyle. Now, the reason I died there and not the first time really didn't have anything to do with equipment. Unless you count the Skadootree blessings and armor, because I did have more Skadootree blessings and I believe a better armor set. Could be wrong about that. But yeah, the weapons, not really a factor in that. Maybe a bit, but even a greatsword wouldn't have saved me from that. But as I was saying, that's why I'm using a different build and different weapon classes every run. So that way I can see what multiple different weapon classes feel like. Or how the DLC feels going through with multiple different weapon classes. Oh, they all stood up. You know, I wasn't expecting everything to stand up as a result of one kukri. It seems like most of them are still just hanging out in the middle. So should be fun. As long as we don't go into the blood lake again. And see, they all just go back to their places. You, come here. Yeah, see? Come out of the blood lake. The blood lake is not good for health. Trust me, you can get so many diseases. You could get thrown into a different IP. You could be stuck as a PlayStation exclusive. Do you really want that? As great as Bloodborne is, do you really want to be stuck as a PlayStation exclusive? Do you really want to face a hunter? Yeah, see? I'm telling you. Whips are so good that these guys are scared. And they're destroying. And remember, they're set to cold, which has... Yeah, dexterity has the best scaling at sea, but it has strength and int scaling, which my strength is only at 20, my intelligence is only at 10. So... these things are not being even remotely min-maxed, but they're still doing a great job. As I said, heading into the Blood Lake is not good for health. But still making whips work. And as I mentioned before, these enemies are a bit too weak, in my opinion, but there's also multiple of them, and I feel like just about everyone would say that curved swords are stronger than whips. Something I would agree with. But if I were to use the curved swords, I would have a much harder time. Both with that specific fight, and with this cave in general. Seeing as they have less range and a lot less stun. What do they have here? Yeah, that'd be good. Let's see, they can do a decent bit of damage. Although, this is also a chief. Who is naturally going to be a bit tougher. But yeah, as you can see, ooh. But you may notice there, I never stance broke him, and I never stunned him. Whereas the last time, I don't have any here, but last time I was using great swords, and I know that I stance broke him. I believe that I stunned him as well. And if I had used whips, you could say, oh, well, whips can't critical attack, but again, I don't think you're supposed to go into these games with a single weapon. I think that you're supposed to go in with multiple weapons. And so even though this can't get a critical, you can just swap. Like, not that hard. And I think that whips probably could have stunned him at some point, which could have gotten us stamina back or gotten us a free heal. And maybe could have stance broken him as well to get a critical for good damage. Curve swords did neither. That's not to say that curve swords are bad. Again, it's to say that whips aren't some useless garbage weapon class. They're not the best. They're not the most streamlined, but they have a niche that they have a niche. They fill that niche very well. And they also have a surprisingly decent amount of versatility once you give them an actual chance. Like I said, these have 3 different attribute scalings. I'm only going into one of them, so my damage isn't nearly as high as it could be. And I'm also running with physical and magic damage, meaning that the enemies can block a bit of physical and a bit of magic, meaning I'm doing even less damage than I could. Like, if I just went into Keen the way I am with all the other weapons, they'd be doing more damage. Like, significantly more damage. I'm just choosing not to. Partially for the frost buildup, because that gives an extra stun, and I like that. And partially just to show that even if you nerf the whips in terms of damage, they're still pretty good. So that's why I'm doing that. But anyways, I feel like we can end it here. So in this part, we start off by getting the Great Katana. We got the Fire Spark Perfume Bottle. We got some pants. For some reason, I always get way more pants than anything else. I don't know why. My characters are just really into stealing greaves, I suppose. But we got the Swift Spear. We got another, I think just one Skidoo Tree Fragment. We might have gotten 2 though. We got an Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone. We got Gravebird Bracelets. We got Tholier's Concoction. We got the ability to craft hefty poison pots. We got Talisman of the Dread. We got a Revered Spear Dash. We got the Horned Bairn. We got the 2-headed Turtle Talisman, which is very good. I've been using that on my second character, and it's very potent. We got the Mushroom Seller's Bell bearing 1. We got the Bloodfiend Hexer's Ashes. This is what the Horned Bairn does. It's kind of like homing Soul Mass from the Dark Souls games, just not as good. But we also went through all of a Rivermouth Cave, so we can return to entrance to get rid of that, because it's making a decent bit of noise. We had pretty good progress today. I'm happy with that, and yeah.